Hello and welcome to Biology A-Level at Thomas Deacon Academy. My name is Mr Lenas and I'm the subject leader of Biology at Thomas Deacon Academy. And I'm going to give you an introduction into what we do at TDA, the course that we offer at TDA, and then it will end up in an activity that you can have a go at in preparation for next year. So let's start off with our intent in terms of what we want to teach you and where we want you to be at the end of your 2 years with us. So our curriculum intent is the idea that as a student you will have a better understanding of all biology, which is the study of life, and we want you to know that not only as a career but for the rest of your life. We want to embed scientific fundamentals in your ability to perform scientific, to understand the value of evidence and look at real scientific studies, and then hopefully you'll go on to use that new information, new skills to give you a career, or at least to facilitate your next level of study, and then you can go on to a career, hopefully in biology at the end of it. So what we offer here at TDA is a couple of key concepts that you'll be given the opportunity to do if you study here. The first one that we have is long-term planning, and we will share that with you. So what that means is we'll provide you with exam dates and times, we'll provide you with when lessons are coming up. And what I mean by that is, let's say we're studying a topic such as cells, we'll tell you which parts of the topic are coming up each lesson before the lesson. So you can then go into what we call pre-lesson learning. That will give the opportunity, when we provide you with the textbook, to look at what's coming up and then have made some notes before the lesson, and then in the lesson we can focus more on the practical aspect of it. We can focus more on the skills, we can focus more on the application of what you've learned, and as well as embedding and reinforcing your pre-lesson learning in the lesson. We also have lab coats at Thomas Deacon Academy, so there will be a one-off cost at the beginning of the year that you'll be required to pay, and then you get to keep your lab coat for the 2 years, and then for the rest of your life when you go off. So I've still got my lab coat from my A-level years, so you'll be able to use that at university as well. We also offer something called problem-based learning and some essays. So problem-based learning, we're going to look at a task later on, so I'll go more about that. But essentially, it's the opportunity to have a go at some group work and some problem-based work that doesn't always result in an exam at the end of it. This is part of what we offer at TDA. This won't be in your final exam, but this is the idea that it's a developmental tool for you. We also have had a lot of success in the Biology Olympiad. I'll come into more a little bit later on, which is essentially an online competition by the Royal Society of Biology that could leave you being commended or getting an award, and even if you do well enough to represent the country imagine it as a big biology quiz. We try to offer trips, so we often offer the Biology in Action trip, which is a one-day trip to go and see inspirational lectures such as Greg Foote that we saw, and we saw lots previously, and I'll come to more later on. And we also offer, if we can, a trip every 2 years to the AAAS. So if you Google AAAS, which stands for the American Association for the Advancement of Science, and that's essentially the biggest science conference in the world, and that's often in America in places like Boston and Washington. And we'll try to go to that, but you can find out more from me about that. We also have quite an experienced department at Thomas Deacon Academy, and quite a range of biology A-level teachers, so we're in a good position in regarding our teaching. So I'll go into the specification structure. Now you can find a lot of this if you just go to OCR specification Biology A, and there's a Biology A and a Biology B. We offer Biology A, and this will give you a breakdown of the whole specification if you want to look at it more, but I'll try and summarise it for you. There'll be a set of modules that you'll do in your first year, which is module 1, 2, 3 and 4, and 1 is essentially all the practical skills, so really you're learning 2, 3 and 4. And that will lead into an AS paper at the end of your first year that we'll do in school, which will have 2 papers, breadth and depth, that are 90 minutes each. And then your actual exam that will count for your real grade will be 3 exam papers once we've learnt the year 13 work as well, which is module 5 and 6. And then you'll get a processes and a diversity papers, which are both 2 hours 15, and then a unified paper, which I believe is 90 minutes as well. And this is just a breakdown of the marks that are on the first year's paper. And this is a breakdown of the marks of the second year papers, and you can pause the video and you can read through this in more detail if you want. And this is an example of the specification and where the marks are split. Again, you can pause the video and have a read through if you want. We also offer a practical endorsement at Thomas Deacon Academy, and this is with OCR, so if you choose to study here or somewhere else, you should be offered a practical endorsement. Most universities want you to have a practical endorsement, so I would definitely investigate it to make sure that you get it. And what that essentially is 12 sets of different practicals. Now we offer probably about 33 or 34, depending on the resources at the time, different practicals as part of this practical endorsement. That doesn't include extra practicals we'll also do as a learning tool. Now what that means is, for instance, in microscopy there'll be 3 set practicals you'll do, and you have to demonstrate a certain skill, such as calibrate a graticule. Well, that just means essentially take a microscope and make sure the distances you're measuring with the microscope is accurate. And there's lots of different ones that you'll have learnt from GCSE, but we build into quite a lot more detail now at A-level. And you'll keep a record of this, and this will be marked by your teachers and fed back on your skills throughout the 2 years. This isn't something to worry about too much. The responsibility is on us as your teachers and me as a subject leader to ensure you get the opportunity to pass this. We've not yet had a student not pass this who has stayed and learnt with us all the way through. You also have a relatively small amount of mathematical skills in the course that you'll need to recall but also use. Generally, if you're okay with your GCSE maths, that will be fine in terms of getting you through your A-level. There are some statistical tests, so you don't have to study maths at A-level to get through. There's some new statistical tests that you'll be provided with, so there's not that much that you have to go away and learn off by heart to get you through the test. There's a couple that you'll have to recall themselves, but you'll be aware of them, such as multiplication, the I am equation from GCSE, or the rate of something, or surface area to volume ratio. So the vast majority of the maths in A-level biology is given to you, and there are some there are some that you'll have to then go ahead and use, but you'll be taught how to do all of these throughout the course. How we do assessments here at Thomas Egan Academy is we do a couple a term, 1 or 2 per term. It averages about 9 or 10 throughout the year, and normally we do either 1 topic or 2 topics joined together, and we sort of weight 50-50 on the chapters, and you'll get a realistic grade generated from that. We'll provide you with folders. You can change and update and control your folder however you like, but the key point is that you're keeping your notes organised, and we'll do regular checks on them. You will also be provided with a personalised learning checklist. You may be familiar with these from GCSE, which is essentially a list of everything you need to know throughout the entire course, and you'll be given to that by us at the beginning of the year and around exam time, so you can organise your study. And finally, homework. The way that we do homework at TDA is we provide you with a homework booklet at the beginning of each term, and this allows you to manage your own time a little bit more, give you a little bit more maturity and independent control over your homeworks. And what will happen is you'll be given your homework booklet to go away and do as much of it as you can, and each week you'll be given a deadline to get a certain amount of it done, so about a week's worth of work done each week. So you'll be checked by your teacher or one of your 2 teachers each week to see how much you've done. You've kind of got to keep on top of that. So the Biology Olympiad I talked about previously is this online competition. You can Google this yourself. You can go to the Royal Society of Biology and have a look around this. There's quite often lots of different tests going on. Last year we had 2 silvers, 1 bronze, 2 commended, 2 highly commended, which is a really, really good result. To kind of put that in context, it tends to be the strongest students that enter into this, and to get a silver award, that puts you in about the top 7% of those A-level students in the country. So you could work out where that puts you. But you're in a very, very, very fine margin of very talented students if you can get commended. And you can keep that, and students often use that as part of their personal statements that they use for UCAS and for applying for jobs. It's a really good award to have on your CV for the rest of your life. There's a Biology in Action trip video here. I know you can't click it because it's a video, but you can type that in, and I'll send you the PowerPoint off. And this is an example of how interactive these day trips are, and you can go into that. Okay, so now we're going to look at some project work that you can go away and do. It's quite open-ended, so it means that the way that you do it will be kind of up to you. And we'll be looking at this example of a problem-based learning task, and this is an example of a Weddell seal, and this one's called Zoe, and I'll come into that in a second. A problem-based learning is a way of teaching which has been introduced, and it's been used in various different ways, but there's a lot of evidence around it being quite useful. The idea is you're giving a problem which I'll give you, and the idea is you can solve that problem however you want. You can come to whatever conclusion you want around that problem. So let's have a look at our problem, and then we'll come to how we can solve that problem. So this is Zoe. Zoe is a Weddell seal, so lives in the very cold. And this is an example. I'll let you pause the video and read this yourself, but I'll summarise. This is an example where we put lots of monitors on Zoe. Zoe takes a big dive under the ice, and we've got Steve here who's sitting waiting for Zoe to resurface again. And about 50 minutes later, Zoe comes back up, and then we can take some blood samples and various recordings of Zoe to see what happened. So what your task will be, once you get your booklet, is to investigate how Weddell seals survive holding their breath for so long. Why can a mammal, such as a Weddell seal, hold its breath for so long compared to humans that can't? So some examples of things you could investigate now is how the hemoglobin of Weddell seals is different, how the lungs and the blood system is different, how they change things in their lungs, they close things off, that kind of thing. You could look at its body itself. You could look at how its face is actually, it's very different, its face, for dealing with the cold environment. It's not just getting enough oxygen around, but dealing with the cold, dealing with the senses of the water. You could also go in, if you prefer looking into humans a little bit more, you could use this to look at something called the bends, which is an effect divers can have when they ascend too quickly from being deep underwater. So you can use this information that I give you in the booklet to kind of study diving and responses underwater however you want. So some guidance for how you can submit this. So a minimum of 2 page information, that can include diagrams, drawings and graphs as part of your results, or you can use whatever kind of format you want. You can present it however you want. You could do a recording of yourself, you could do a PowerPoint presentation, however you want, but use about 2 pages of A4 to kind of give you a guidance of how much we expect you to submit. There's some questions in the booklet that will give you things that you could research and investigate. And I suggest you do simple Google searches, so you put things into Google and you start looking there. If you type the word scholar into Google, this is quite new, but you can have a go at this, you will then look at something called journal articles. Now, journal articles are real papers that real scientists have published. And you can look at something called the abstract on there, and the abstract is a summary of what they've done. So I recommend just having a little look at some of the abstracts around there. You could go into the anatomy and physiology of the Weddell seal. So here's an example of a diagram and some various different things kind of showing. For instance, you'll notice here that the foreflipper has 5 claws and the hind flippers have 5 digits. That means sort of like fingers, which is the same as in humans. And so this could be something that takes your interest. So what you can essentially do is take this information that you're sent in the booklet, read through it, and then decide what you want to research a little bit more, and then you can present that. Okay, thanks very much for listening. If you have any problems, you can email me at jml@tda.education. Thank you.